In November 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari presented a budget of 8.6 trillion naira to the National Assembly for passage as the fiscal document for the year 2018.
Now, the presidency said it decided to start the budget approval process early for quick signage and implementation. But 4 months after its presentation, the proposed 2018 budget is yet to be approved by the National Assembly. The lawmakers have placed the blame for the delay at the doorsteps of the ministries, departments and agencies who they say have refused to either submit details of their 2018 budget proposal or their amendments as requested by Senate committees.
Now, but the Budget Office of the Federation and the Presidency have denied those allegations. Both arms of government are on a face-off, refusing to take blame for the impasse, as Senate says there is no date yet for the passage of the 2018 budget.
All right, with us in the studio is Director, Research and Advocacy of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Vincent Nwani. Good morning, good to see you.
Good morning.
And of course, also with us is Chief Economist at Vertiva Capital Management, Michael Famoroti. Good morning, gentlemen. It's good to see you. All right, well, the whole purpose of laying out the budget in November of 2017 seems to have been defeated with this delay. Now we're hearing from Mr. President that he has ordered the MDAs to ensure that by Friday they do the needful. What exactly do you think about all that's playing out right now around this budget? It's like every year there's drama surrounding the budget.
You've already answered your question.
Oh.
It's like every year it's a drama. You know, to put it in perspective,
yes.
Since 1999 to 2017, it takes an average of 5 months and 2 weeks from the start of the year to the day budget is signed into law. So this year is not different from any other year. In fact, from 1999 to 2017, it's only 2 years out of the, I think, 17 years that we had our budget on 1st of January. We've had it even 6 months after January before.
Yeah.
So on the average, like I said before, 5 months, 2 weeks. So this year is not different at all. So the budget has become a battleground field for supremacy battle between conflict of interest between the executive and the legislatures. You know, and the only thing that can solve this war is going to maybe constitutional review, legislative review, which I will go into. But the sad part of it is not recognizing the impact and the consequence of delaying your budget. Yeah. It's like driving to a bridge to nowhere when you are running a business or running anything without a plan.
Okay.
Empirically, you know, some empirical studies have put it that Nigeria loses between 15% to 20% of our GDP to budget delays and inconsistencies every year. You know, and if I use like 2014 GDP numbers, that is like losing about $60 billion US every year to budget delay. And if you look at some statistics, you find out that that is very consistent. You know, company's profit, my colleague from the investment bank will likely allude to that. Company profit, quarter by quarter profit, you find out that first quarter profit is relatively the lowest. The same thing with GDP numbers. If you look at Bureau of Statistics, 10 years, you know, quarter by quarter, you find out that Q1 and Q2 are relatively lower than Q3, Q4. You know, and you can even go to even stock market and some other performance and growth numbers. So you find out that we've got to a point where we need to fix this problem. Executive cannot fix it. Legislators cannot fix it. Nigerians will fix it by calling on the National Assembly to review certain laws. Because be it preparation lag, that is, time it takes to prepare the budget. When should the budget be submitted? That is submission lag.
Yes.
Consideration lag in the National Assembly. Approval lag by the National Assembly. Then signing lag by the President. It takes 19 days, average, since 1999 to date, between the time the legislators pass the budget to the time President will even put his signature. These are the issues we are facing. In other climes, in other countries, these lags or these timelines are legislated. It's in their constitution.
Yeah.
In the US, February 1 is their date. It's been there for the last 50 years. What is happening? I think I will cut.
All right, Michael, let me come to you on this. Talking about the issue of implications of the delay in passing the budget. Now, for the sake of all of us who are not economists and those who are watching at home, make us understand really, simplifying it, what are the implications if our budget has been delayed, like he said, year after year?
Yeah, I think there are two main implications. The first, to understand it, we have to look at why the federal government has a budget in the first place. And the simple reason is that, government spending is a big part of the economy. One angle of it is obviously paying the salaries of civil servants. That is a substantial part of our labor force. But also when we look at infrastructure projects, when we look at schools, education, health, the public sector is a big part of the economy, and the federal budget is a necessary element in that. So once you have a malfunctioning budget, that implies that that part of the economy is affected. And like my friend here mentioned, it interacts with the whole economy. So if you look at construction projects, for example, they're heavily linked to government projects, right? So when you have delays in capex, you find that the construction sector suffers. So there's a knock-on effect that comes from not being able to deliver properly on the public sector front. For us in Nigeria, the silver lining, bizarrely, is because we are so used to budget delays, we have effectively shifted our budget cycle.
So gotten used to functioning without knowing what the
we haven't gotten
government's
to
fiscal plan
functioning per se, but we manage in that if the budget isn't passed in January, it's not as much a problem, because technically speaking, the 2017 budget ought to run till May, June. So at the moment, there is no gap in fiscal policy. The government can still spend and borrow from the 2017 budget. The problem is that any new projects or funding that is stipulated for the 2018 budget can't start until it is passed. So the real gap comes in when, if by chance the budget isn't passed by June and the 2017 budget elapses, something that we saw last year where the 2016 budget finished in May and the budget for 2017 was only passed in June. So we had a month where the government could really do very little in terms of project execution, and the only thing that they were legally mandated to do was pay salaries, which obviously is just keeping the ship going. Yeah.
Vincent, do you get a sense that there is real thorough work or thinking or process that goes into the budget, whether it's delayed or not? Let's even assume that according to Mr. President, he's looking for a time when the budget cycle will go back to what it used to be way back when, in January, you just hit the ground running. Looking at the budgets over the years, do you see thorough process or thorough thinking?
Yeah, I've done some work, personal work on budget and budgeting in Nigeria, to even look at the budget submitted to the legislatures and the final budget that is signed, to look at the input actually made by the legislators. Okay, some work, but it's not the work is not significant enough to keep that document for 6 months. It's not enough. And again, we also need to look at the legislatures. What is the constitutional power of our National Assembly on budget? Is their work to make budget, to review budget, or to influence budget? That is still a lacuna that need to be addressed in the Constitution. So answering your question, the work being done is not rigorous enough. What is presented and what is passed is not the changes or the difference is not material enough.
I asked that question bearing in mind that we've heard over and over again that, look, there have been instances of just copy and paste.
Yes.
What you budgeted for in 2016, you just lift it and,
add a little bit,
here and there, and just present it.
We run that for a long time when we were doing incremental budget. Now we've gone back to zero-based budget, where everything have to start afresh, linking it to national plans and everything going on. But still looking at the budget we have this year over what was done last year. Of course, the budget detail is not yet ready, just the clippings. It's still like an increment. adding something to something or removing something for something. If you look at those lines about 1,000 something page document, the software bought last year in presidency in this office is still being bought the same. Just one small number changed.
Yes. Well,
the specifications the same thing. So, like I said before, the budget issue have become it has become a concept of conflict, supremacy fight, you know, between these two arms of government, you know, where somebody have to get on somebody at the end of the day, and where two elephant fights, the grass suffers. My colleague just said that whether they pass budget or not, the salaries are being paid. At least they have to run. And who are they paying this salary? Themselves. You know, construction work cannot happen or it's happening. In fact, if you look at quarterly implementation of CAPEX, capital projects, since 1999 to 2016, you know, it's less than 5% capital implementation for the first quarter. It's only in the third quarter you have something like 24% of CAPEX. And what is even the quality of the capital expenses? Replacing chairs in the office, replacing fittings in the office, because they are part of CAPEX. When we hear CAPEX, we think it's just tying road and constructing bridges. No, what is the quality of CAPEX in our, you know, the real quality of CAPEX in that you see still less than 50%. Others are just replacement of the advance and vehicles and all of those things. So moving forward, like I said, we need to go back to the basis, and the only basis is to legislate on our budgetary process, especially the timeline. That on September 1, whether president is like it or not, and the ministers, whether he's sick or out of the country, budget must be presented. On 1st of January, budget must be passed, and that same day.
Yeah, but it's one thing to make the laws,
some countries,
it's another thing for the political will
it's just like,
to be there,
just like,
you know, to carry out those laws.
The electoral, can I say electoral court?
Yes.
Before you can, you know, keep on for 4 years, but at some point, what is going on? It takes 3 months for the electoral court to pass, and it takes 2 months for the appeal court to give judgment. You need to set, and these courts have been respecting these timelines. These are the type of timelines, legal timelines that need to be fixed for us to move forward. But whether they are ready to do that remains to be seen.
All right, Michael, let me come to you on this. At first, the presidency said that the National Assembly was the one delaying the budget. And the National Assembly, they said no, it is the MDAs who are not coming to. But the directive from, in fact, is on the Punch newspaper this morning, where the president is directing, giving an order to MDAs and giving them a time frame. Is it now obvious where the delays are coming from, where it seemed like, okay, the MDAs, this actually corroborates what the National Assembly was saying?
I think, in my view, the delays are coming from everywhere. We have had budget delays year after year. The stories may sometimes change, but it all comes down to what you mentioned about the political will and sense of responsibility that the executive and legislature have towards the budget. So we do have existing laws to try and guide and constrain the power that they have over the budget process. And I know that the Minister of Budget and Planning was trying to push forward an organic budget law to properly entrench things. But if you look at global standards, the law can only take you so far. In the last 10 years in the US, we've had a couple of fiscal cliffs and government shutdowns. The US is a relatively mature democracy. There are laws in place that try and constrain and force them to make decisions at a certain time. But we have seen that when politics clashes with law, politics tends to win out in the short run. And what we are likely to find, even with proper timelines, is they're just going to be missed. And if the budget is supposed to be submitted on the 30th of December, it's going to be submitted on the 30th of January, and you know what, very little is going to happen. So,
does this in any way, this delay in budget, affect foreign direct investments, which is what our governments over the years have, looked forward to as a way of shoring up the economy? When foreign investors who are interested in coming to Nigeria look at it and say, these people are not ready with their budget, how does it affect their coming in and bringing their funds in?
You know, I forgot the person that said this, so I don't misquote, but budget delayed is equal to budget denied. Budget delay causes uncertainty. And you know what? Businesses like risk, but they don't like uncertainty. So whether it is domestic investment, whether it is foreign investment, so far it is tied strongly to budget assumptions or budget realities, it's going to be delayed, or you lose it. Because foreign direct investment or even local investment, we've seen now that you don't have it yourself. You are competing with so many other economies that are as attractive or even more attractive than you. So the more you delay, another person takes it, and you wait for another cycle before you begin to be considered again. When you are being considered, your election is coming in, the hastemen you just finished discussing, you know, so you don't have reasons to delay, because passing the budget at the right time is within the control of Nigerians.
Let's put you gentlemen on hold right now.
All right, we have some breaking news coming in now. Information reaching us say that the first set of the 110 abducted schoolgirls from the Science Technical College in Dapchi, Yobe State, have been released.
Yes, indeed. We'll join our correspondent Michael Oshoma from Yobe State to give us details of this breaking news that should come as truly cheering news. Michael Oshoma, good morning and thanks for joining us. All right, Michael, what can you tell us about these latest developments? I recall the defense minister less than 48 hours ago actually put a timeline to it, though he denied that he was misquoted. Tell us about this developments, please.
Yeah, early this morning, today, 6 o'clock, I went to Dapchi. On getting to Dapchi, at the entrance of Dapchi, military stopped us and said, journalists are not allowed to come into the town. As we speak now, I'm in Dapchi, standing at the checkpoint that leads to the entrance of the community. Right now, before we were banned from entering the town, we got information from the parents of the adopted schoolgirls that Boko Haram members are bringing the girls, some first set of the girls, to the school. We got the information and we waited along the military formation. Within some seconds, we saw the Boko Haram members driving in, and the military withdrew from the checkpoint. And when they entered, they released those girls to some of the affected parents and leaders of the community. As we speak, a lot of the jubilation is going on in the Dapchi community, and journalists are banned from entering the town. As we speak now, military and other security agencies have also taken over the community. Boko Haram members dropped the children and they left immediately as we speak.
All right, Mike, please let us get this thing straight. Boko Haram members drove the girls into the school by themselves and handed them over to their parents.
And handed them over to their parents and community leaders.
Do we have an idea of the number? Are you able to make out, you know, say 10, 20, the number of girls that may have been released by these Boko Haram terrorists?
Honestly, we don't have a figure yet. Undisclosed figure has been released. Journalists are banned from entering Dapchi. We are just at the entrance of Dapchi. We don't have specific number yet, but we are very certain that first set of these girls have been released. Even a military personnel from the same Dapchi confided in me and told me that these girls have been released. We saw people coming out from the town, going out of the town. They meet us and they told us that these girls have been released. So it's a confirmed news.
All right. Also confirm to us. You said earlier that the military prevented all of you from entering the city, which means that Boko Haram driving into the school and to the community, there's still military presence there.
Yes, but
and there is no face-off.
Yes, and at the time they drove in, there was no gunshot at all. Nobody shot. There was no gunshot. The Boko Haram did not shoot. The military did not shoot, but they tactically withdrew from the military checkpoint, and these Boko Haram members released the girls to them, and they left immediately.
Michael Oshoma, I'm just trying, still staying with the numbers. I know you cannot give us any numbers specifically. We've been told officially that 110 girls were abducted from the Dapchi school. Just looking at the crowd, I'm thinking you can actually, you know, get a bird's eye view of the girls. Are you able to say there's a large number, even if you don't have specific numbers to it?
Yeah, from the healers I counted from when they were entering town, I counted 6 healers of these Boko Haram members. But I doubt if the complete set of the girls has been released. But I think a reasonable number of them. Honestly, I don't have a specific number yet. It's still unofficial. But I learned that one of the girls is in a nearby community close to Dapchi. I'm making my move to go and have an interview with her. Maybe from there I will get more details on the issue.
All right, make us understand, because you said the parents of the girls were there in the school. Was it the military that informed the parents to be present since the Boko Haram will be bringing the girls? Or what have you been hearing?
Yeah, it's a plan. I think it's a kind of negotiation process. It has been arranged already. They've told the parents, they've told the military that probably these Boko Haram members are coming for them to tactically withdraw and allow these boys to peacefully release these girls. Because it was peacefully done, the transaction was peacefully done, and this set just left the town peacefully. They didn't kill anybody, they didn't shoot, they just left. Jubilation is ongoing as we speak.
Yes, jubilation indeed, and I'm sure this jubilation will be all around Nigeria right now. But one question that will be on the minds of Nigerians is, how is it possible that these girls were dropped by Boko Haram, and after they were dropped, there was no attempt on the part of the military or security operatives to apprehend this Boko Haram members?
That is what I don't know. That is what I don't know. But I know that it's a process, and it's a planned, a kind of negotiation process that has been arranged right from time, and they are just delivering the girls to the community and government. Honestly, I don't have idea on that.
All right, with the parents being there, and yeah, Michael, what you said earlier on, the parents are there, and it seems the Boko Haram has handed over the girls to their parents. So we know that in the case of the Chibok girls, the parents were not allowed immediately to have access to the girls, which means the parents will be taking their girls back to their homes.
Yes, initially people thought there was information in the town that Boko Haram are actually coming to Dapchi. So lots of residents started running in the course of when they got the information. But when they came in the course of peaceful delivery of those children, people stayed behind. So the parents, many people knew that they are coming, but they never knew they never confirmed whether those Boko Haram are actually bringing those girls until their arrival.
Okay.
All right.
Michael Oshoma, thank you so much. I doubt, of course, if you can make out, you know, and tell us specifically what the girls look like in terms of their condition, if they look, you know,
well taken care of,
and
not.
all of that. Thank you so much, Michael Oshoma. We'll, of course, be coming back to you. It's a big day, really, not only in Dapchi, but, of course, all across Nigeria.
We'll keep a tab on you for updates on that. And the report we're just breaking now is that the Dapchi girls that were kidnapped some time ago have been released. In fact, they were driven from the report we got from our correspondent in Yobe State in Damaturu. He said that Boko Haram themselves drove the girls back home to the schools. And their parents were waiting. Military presence was there. They dropped the girls in about 6 vans they brought, and they left and they drove off. There was no engagement.
According to Michael Oshoma, there was no gunshot, nothing. Obviously, the military made room for the Boko Haram members or terrorists to drop the girls with their parents in the schools, and they left. And of course, journalists were not allowed within that vicinity at all to be able to give us real clear information as to what exactly went on. And our correspondent is not able also to make out the exact number of girls, but according to him, a reasonable number of girls have been released to their parents in Dapchi.
All right, so follow our bulletins. We'll let you know what's going on, because our correspondent is there on the ground to follow every information that comes out from the parents, from the military, and from the girls themselves, because he's going to follow up on some of those as we get along. Stay with us. Now, let's come back to what we were talking about earlier on. There has been an impasse between the National Assembly and the presidency over the passage of the 2018 budget, and that is what we have been talking about all the while. We have Dr.
Sure
Vincent Wani.
The gentleman will have something to say about this one. I'm sure they're as excited.
Yeah, we have Dr. Vincent Wani with us and Michael Famoroti with us in the studio. We've been talking about this. Now, first of all, Dapchi girls are back.
Well,
at least some of them.
I rejoice, I celebrate with the studio, with the Dapchi people and with Nigerians. As far as this news is concerned, you know, our girls are back. And we hope that the remaining Chibok girls will also be driven back the way these ones are driven. But it doesn't matter what happened between military, the media, or whatever. The major news is that the girls are back. And
the first set.
Okay, the first set are back.
That's the information we got is the first set. So we wouldn't know if the first set constitute about 20 or 50 or 100, but they said the first set of them.
Exactly, and our hope is that this will never happen again in Nigeria. Our schools should be safe. Our boys, our girls have to be safe while at school.
Well said. I mean, delighted to hear this. Hopefully, this is just the start, and we do get the return of all the girls and everyone else. It'll be interesting to see the whole story unfold. There are definitely some elements of it that are slightly puzzling, but the main headline really is what to focus on, the fact that hopefully these girls are back and they can return to some semblance of normal life. Okay, and let's see if the rest of Nigeria can return to some semblance of normal life if we are able to get these lingering budget impasse out of the way. Now, what are the implications really? Can or should budget be passed without the input of MDAs? Really? First off, Ben Wabweze, Akabweze actually, not Wabweze, said, look, this whole idea of the legislature saying that the MDAs need to come and defend their budget. In laying out the budget in the first place, the details are actually already there, presented by the president. So why this need for them, you know, for the MDAs to come and defend their budget? Vincent.
Okay. And I think I've mentioned this before, that we need to look at the whole thing about budgetary process in Nigeria and legislate on them or review constitution if it is constitution that will solve the problem. I know that I've not been there when president is presenting the budget, but I watched the picture, I watched the video. It's a document as high as this, meaning that all the details, line by line item, ministry by ministry, MDA by MDA is already included. So this physical defense is what I really don't know. Of course, if you need to explanation. Well, it's a situation where about, I don't know how many MDAs we have in Nigeria, but well over 100 have to queue in front of the budgetary committee and defending and making explanation. And again, this also gives room for human interface, underhand cutting, begging appeal, and the lobbying and the things that go with that, which we frown at, you know. So I think we have to move to a point where we need to leverage electronics. You know, if you need information from MDA, all of them are in Lagos, even if they are not in Lagos, email can solve this problem. You can send tons and tons of documents via email. If email cannot carry, we have some other channel you can see. We're in Lagos and we are transacting business across the world. Some places we are transacting business are 9 hours, 8 hours difference. But from a legislative house to Abuja ministries, there's issue. So I believe it's not about lack of information. It's really far more than lack of information from MDAs to the legislators, and we need to know what is going on.
All right, because we have to round off now, but Michael, let me ask, on the ideals now, going forward, what should we really look at? What should it be when it comes to presenting the budget and the passage? What should be the ideals? Just give us an idea now.
So the reality is that there's no perfect process, and while legislation and technology and processes are all great, and we can definitely learn from the states, but we can also learn from our peers abroad in terms of how to enact an effective budget passage process. The reality is that ultimately there is going to be a sort of human element on it. The legislature and the executive need to play a role along with the civil service. Now, as long as those parties don't have their act together, regardless of the process created, there are going to be issues. It is no surprise that state budgets tend to be passed on average 3 or 4 months before the federal budget, because the sort of back and forth, the sort of contention and politic in there is a lot less. So state governors are a lot more dominant politically than the president is on the national level, because he has a strong National Assembly and so on. So those are the elements, those political elements are the issue, because there is no perfect budget passage. If you look at the US, if you look at China, if you look at Kenya, each country has a different way of tackling.
In other words, an
its
economic
plans.
Document has been politicized.
Precisely, and will continue to be politicized.
All right, gentlemen.
We have to leave you here now. Michael Famaroti, Chief Economist, Vertiva Capital Management, thank you very much for talking to us.
Pleasure.
And Dr. Vincent Mwani, thank you very much for talking to us as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.